Welcome to this video where I will share proven concepts on how to beat the casino. My name is Gigi. Beat the casino, keep what you win. Why did I decide to make this video? I have been casually playing casino games, mostly blackjack and roulette, for 20 years. I took an interest in Baccarat due to a training offered to me in 2010. From that I learned that Baccarat has some of the most favorable odds for the gambler. Since then, I spent a lot of time playing the game and trying various betting systems. Due to my background in engineering and statistics, I was drawn to attacking the challenge of how to beat the casino. I sought out training in betting systems and began building my own computer simulation to predict the long-term performance of various strategies that I learned and developed. Through my study, I've discovered some techniques that I will share with you. I have discovered some simple methods to help you win consistently. I mentioned that the Baccarat game has the most favorable odds for the gambler. There is only a slim advantage for the casino, and through proper money management, that advantage can go to the player. In this video, we will focus on betting strategy. I have another YouTube video called Beat the Casino, Learn Baccarat, where I provide instruction on the rules of Baccarat. That covers the basic training, so I encourage you to review that video. As we should all know, you will not be successful unless you master the basics. So let's now talk about betting strategy. I will share the simulation results from a unique bet progression and money management system. The money management concepts can apply to any casino game, and you will see why in a minute. The size of your bankroll will determine how much money you should put at risk. In this method, we will set profit targets to make sure that we lock in our gains. It is very important to set your profit target and take the profit when it is achieved. I will show you how to set the target for your profit. Follow the plan and take your profits when they are there. Locking your gain, take your profits. Easier said than done, but critical to your success. The name of the progression that I use is the Gigi progression. If you follow this method correctly, you will be consistently taking profits. We will get into detail of how this is done later by going through some examples. But first, let me explain to you why this method can work. Game simulation was used to determine how often one will hit the profit target with this progression. This is done with a custom computer simulation that I developed to test results from actual casino shoes. With 500 shoe results, there is enough data here to simulate multiple years of play. Here's an overview of the results. In summary, with the Gigi progression, our win rate will be 75% or greater, so we will be able to take profits frequently. In a minority of shoes, we risk losing money before we reach the point where we have hit our profit target. It will be important to limit our losses to a manageable amount to ensure that your profits exceed our losses. Let's go right to the results that can be expected. This system will generate a winning result on 75% of the shoes played. With a starting bet of $70, the amount won on a winning shoe is $209. The average amount lost is $503. This may look like a huge loss, but with a win rate of 75%, you still come out ahead. Consider that we are winning 3 out of 4 shoes, so the average result per shoe will be a win of almost $33. The losses are not enough to overcome the wins, so the average result is greater than 0. This is how to make money over the long term by consistently taking profits when they are there. Again, you won't lose money by taking a profit. When playing this system, there are 2 ways to manage your losses. The first approach is to set a stop loss on each shoe. With a stop loss, if you have lost this amount, then you stop playing the shoe. For example, if you set your stop at $300, then you can buy in for $300. Then, if you run out of chips, you have lost the $300, so you stop. Do not buy more chips. After you take a stop loss, I recommend that you take a short break for a few hands or find another table. Or you could come back to the same table when the next shoe begins. A second method to limit losses is to limit the number of hands that you will play in the shoe. The trade-off here is that you want to play enough hands to give yourself a chance of making a profit. On the other hand, the more hands that you play in a bad shoe, the more money you could lose. You will have to decide this part of the strategy for yourself based on your risk tolerance and the size of your bankroll. There is an optimum ratio of stop loss to profit target that is the secret to making this work. You should know that ratio for the betting system you are using. In the case of Baccarat and any other casino game, we must plan our play and play according to our plan. Take a systematic approach and you will achieve predictable results. A systematic approach takes great discipline on the part of the player. Not everybody will be able to do this. If you cannot be disciplined in your play, you should not be gambling at all. End of story. Let's move on to talk about game strategy. Before playing Baccarat or any game, you should have a plan. A good plan should have a well-defined method to determine these key parameters, which are bet selection, betting sequence, profit targets, number of hands we will play per shoe, and the stop loss for each shoe. Taking these one at a time, that plan should include a well-defined method for bet selection. In Baccarat, bet selection is simply whether you will bet on player or banker. Baccarat odds are some of the most favorable in the casino. Due to the rules used for the third card, the banker hand always has a slight edge over the player hand. Ignoring the tie bets, on average, the banker hands win 50.7% of the time, and player hands win 49.3% of the time. Without the commission, a smart player would only play banker and enjoy a 1.2% advantage over player and over the casino. If you have played Baccarat, you know that many casinos charge a 5% commission on banker wins. This will negate the advantage of betting on banker. To avoid that, it can be better to play at casinos that have the easy Baccarat tables. These do not charge commission on banker wins. So in summary, for bet selection, it would make the most sense to bet on banker for every hand. Having said that, in the short term, some patterns can emerge, so you need to be flexible. Let's talk briefly about betting to follow patterns. A common method used is to bet the same results as the last hand. If banker won the last hand, then you will bet banker on the next hand. This method works well on streaks of player or banker. Another method used is to bet the opposite of the previous result. This works well when the player and banker alternate. This is called a chop. Another famous method used is to bet time before last. If the result was banker 2 hands ago, then bet banker. Using this method, after a few hands, you will be betting with either a streak or a chop, so you can win on either pattern. A derivation of that is to bet the opposite of the time before last. This ends up winning when the results follow the 2-2-2 pattern. You can try to pick up a pattern in the shoe, or you can just bet banker on every hand. That's up to you. The next thing that we need to decide on will be the betting sequence. Without going too deep into all the systems that are out there, let's just say that you need to take care if you are using a negative progression. A negative progression requires you to increase your bet amount after a loss. The best option for the conservative player will be to use flat betting, or an incremental increase in the bet amount. Flat betting means that you bet the same amount on every hand. One of the most aggressive negative progressions is called the martingale system. A martingale type of progression is where the bets are doubled after every loss. You continue until you have a win, then restart the progression. Assuming a string of 7 consecutive losses, this series would consist of the following wagers if you kept losing: 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64. If you lose a bet, you will move up to the next wager, doubling the amount on the previous wager. Use of the system ensures that whenever your wager eventually wins, you will win the amount of the original wager. in this instance, 1. The big advantage of this system is that you will experience a high win rate since the odds of losing are small. In a 7-bet system, you should theoretically lose only once in every 128 bet sequences. So your odds of winning a sequence are greater than 99%. Martingale methods risk a lot to win a little. When the losses come, they will wipe out hours of profits. Using a negative betting progression, you can increase your likelihood of losing your bankroll unless you increase your bankroll to an adequate level. Personally, I find it to be a very difficult system to play. At the end of the progression, you are risking a lot to win a small amount, and you are trying to recover all your losses in a single bet. I would not recommend the Martingale method. Let's take an example of using a Martingale progression on a $25 table. Your starting bet or unit size will be $25. Eventually, you will reach a point where you have lost 5 hands in a row, and the 6th bet that you must make is for $800. The sad part about this is that you have already lost $775 on the string of 5 losses. So, on the 6th bet, you are betting $800, and if you win, you are just making up for the previous losses and will only win $25. Personally, I find it to be a very difficult system to play. At the end of the progression, you are risking a lot to win a small amount, and you are trying to recover all your losses in a single bet. Not a smart way to play, in my opinion. The GG progression does not force you to recover your losses with a single bet. Instead, we will make use of money management with flat betting and apply the rule of 3. The rule of 3 says that we will take a profit when we have won 3 more hands than we have lost. Game simulations were used to model this and determine the best combinations of profit target versus the stop loss. There is an optimum ratio of stop loss to profit target that is the secret to making this work. Model results show that we have a high probability for hitting our profit target during the shoe. When we do not reach our profit target within the planned amount of hands played, we will stop playing that shoe. When you are losing a shoe, the amount that you lose will be limited by setting a stop loss or a limit on the number of hands played. In any betting system, you will need a way to limit your losses so they do not exceed your profits. So next, let's move on to see why the GG progression actually works. In the +3 system, you will track the number of winning and losing hands. A winning hand is counted as a +1, and a losing hand is -1. The running total is tracked, and we call this the net wins. When the net wins are at +3, this means that you have won 3 more hands than have been lost. The frequency distribution chart shows the number of hands needed to reach a +3 during the shoe. The data shown is from 500 shoe results. The first bar is for the 3rd hand and shows that 15% of the time we have 3 wins after the 3rd hand. Moving out further in the shoe, by the time we have played 20 hands, we find that 54% of the time we would have reached a +3 on the net wins, so you would take your profit. Likewise, by the time we have played 40 shoes, we find that 67% of the time we would have reached a +3 on the net wins, so you take a profit 2/3 of the time. Going further, 75% of the time we will have +3 wins by the end of the shoe. That means that 3 out of 4 shoes have a profit. Let's go back to look at the results that can be expected when the stop loss is set properly. This system will generate a winning result on 75% of the shoes played. With a starting bet of $70, the amount won on winning shoes is $209, and the average amount lost is $503 on the losing shoes. This may look like a huge loss, but with a win rate of 75%, you still come out ahead. Consider that we are winning 3 out of 4 shoes, so the average result per shoe will be a win of almost $33. I can help gamblers achieve these kind of results by selecting the proper stop loss and bankroll. There's an optimum ratio of stop loss to profit target that is the secret to making this work. This will vary according to the betting system that you use. Given the average win of $33, if we played 500 shoes, the total amount won will be over $15,000. That amount will be larger or smaller depending on the size of your bankroll. This is the long-term result, but the results along the way can vary dramatically depending on how the wins and losses are clustered. This plot shows the cumulative result as each shoe is played. You can see that the results for the first 100 shoes are not positive. However, between shoes 100 and 160, the results climb back to the expected average. From there, the results were better than average through shoe 250. Following that, the results showed an average increase through shoe 380. Then, after that, the results bounced up and down until shoe 500. This shows that the short-term results can vary dramatically from the average. This might not look impressive to you, but this is a very conservative and predictable system. The system provides the most stable results of any method I have tested or played. You may have a system that you think will work better than this, but you won't know that unless you do the same testing. I offer a service to simulate your favorite betting method as a way to evaluate its performance without placing any bets. I can do this for any casino table game. If you decide to bet real money, you need to be prepared and have a plan. Use a profit target and a stop loss that you can afford. Your buy-in for a shoe should equal your stop loss, and in this way, you will stop when you run out of chips. Conservatively, your total bankroll should be at least 15 times the stop loss for a shoe. So you can set your stop loss per shoe by dividing your bankroll by 15. That is workable for this method and does not apply to all strategies, so you need to take care. For example, if you have $6,000 to set aside for gambling, your stop loss on a shoe should be $400. 15 times 400 equals $6,000. With this stop loss, you could go with a starting bet anywhere from $15 to $40, depending on the amount of risk you are willing to take. The amount you use for your bankroll should be money that you can set aside and is not needed for your living expense. This should truly be extra funds that you will not miss if you lose. Let's take a minute to consider where we go from here. I do not recommend that anyone should gamble. I do not recommend that you try to play this system unless you really understand what you are doing and understand the risk. If you want consistent results, you need to be prepared and have a plan. Use a profit target and a stop loss that you can afford. Your buy-in for a shoe should equal your stop loss, and in this way you will stop when you run out of chips. Conservatively, for the system shown, your total bankroll should be at least 15 times the stop loss for one shoe. I offer services to simulate your betting strategy with in-depth analysis to select the optimum profit target and stop loss for the bankroll that you have to work with. So, because you watched my video, I am offering a free sample newsletter. In this newsletter, I will provide details on a method to set your bankroll. I will provide a detailed summary of the results that were covered here. Take advantage of this free offer by sending an email with newsletter in the subject line. Send this to baccaratgravy@gmail.com. Check the spelling. That is BACCARAT and the word gravy, GRAVY, @gmail.com. Learn to play Baccarat to get the gravy. Also, if you have any questions about this video or other aspects of the game, feel free to send an email to this address. I can help you optimize your betting strategy. I can provide custom modeling services to simulate your favorite betting method. The computer simulation is not limited to Baccarat. It can be modified to suit any table game. With this service, I will build a computer model of the betting method that you want to test. Depending on your system, I may even build the initial simulation at no cost to you. That depends on how complex it is. So if you have a favorite betting strategy that you think needs to be tested, this service will provide a simulation and results on several shoes. The service I offer from this will be to test the simulation on hundreds or thousands of shoes depending on what you want. That part is the paid service. Doing your testing at home is always more cost-effective than trying something out in the casino. I have spent hundreds of hours simulating betting strategies, and I am happy to offer my knowledge and ability to evaluate these systems in a cost-effective manner. So if you have a method that you want to try without risking a loss at the casino, you could save money by having me test it for you. Here are some comments on my Baccarat simulations. A testimonial from Gil in Texas reads as follows. I have played, developed, and tested Baccarat systems for over 30 years. Any programming of Baccarat systems I need is done by Gigi. There is no telling how much money he has saved me over the last 5 years. He is very knowledgeable about the game, very honest, and fair with his programming fees. If you play Baccarat and think you have an above-average system, you really need to test it on a minimum of 1,000 shoes. And the only reasonable way to do that is to have someone program your system for you. Gigi can do that. Thank you for sharing that, Gil. Another quote from Dave in Connecticut is as follows. I have been working on many different approaches to beating Baccarat consistently for the past 8 years. The testing takes lots of time doing it by hand. If you have your parameters together with what you are trying to accomplish, Gigi can take it from there and put it in the computer. There, he can manipulate the variables and test your thoughts by running thousands of shoes. Gigi is very talented and quick to give you the feedback you need to make changes or create new ideas. He is extremely reasonable and very easy to work with. Thank you, Dave. If you want to speak to them, they are willing to take your phone calls. I only need to get their permission first, so let me know. To inquire about strategy testing, send an email with testing in the subject line. Send this to baccaratgravy@gmail.com with your phone number and the best time of day to reach you. I will contact you to talk about your interest and the services offered. Again, send your email to baccaratgravy@gmail.com. Learn to play Baccarat to get the gravy. I have saved a ton of money by using computer simulation to test betting strategies. This beats losing money by experimenting in the casino on any day. So as follow-up to this training, I am offering a free sample newsletter. All you need to do is send an email and I will get it to you shortly. I also provide custom modeling services to simulate your favorite betting method. To inquire about strategy testing, send an email with testing in the subject line. Send this to baccaratgravy@gmail.com with your phone number and the best time of day for you to take a call. I will contact you to talk about your interest and the services offered. Again, send your email to baccaratgravy@gmail.com. Learn to play Baccarat to get the gravy. Doing your testing with computer simulation is always more cost-effective than risking a loss at the casino. Remember that you can beat the casino if you take your profits. I sincerely want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. It was my pleasure to share this important information. I have another YouTube video called Beat the Casino, Learn Baccarat. In that video, I provide instruction on the rules of Baccarat. That covers the basic training, so I encourage you to review that. As we should all know, you will not be successful unless you master the basics. Take your profits. Keep what you win. Thank you for your time.